of a perfect frame. Shadows of your smile will always.
Issues That Matter with Calvin Lester and Stephen Jackson on WKSH 97.7 The Heat.
Good evening, good evening, good evening. This is 97.7 WKSH. I'm Calvin Lester, Stephen Jackson. You're listening to Issues That Matter. We thank you for taking some of your very precious and valuable time on a Tuesday to listen to what we pray is a both enlightening and uplifting conversation. We need some uplift these days. And of course, we thank Brother Johnny Antoine, who is our station owner, the baker, the maker, the candlestick maker, for allowing us this platform to talk to you folks about those things that are important in our community. So thank you, Brother Johnny Antoine, for opening up this platform for us. We very much appreciate it. We're very much going to make good use of the time while we still have it. So that's what we got going on. Brother Jackson, how you doing today?
Man, I'm okay. I ain't gonna even lie. There's a lot going on.
Right.
You know, just thoughts and prayers to those folks who are dealing with a lot, particularly in this holiday season. You know,
Right.
We've got a lot of people that are struggling naturally because it's a holiday season.
Right.
But we've had some unfortunate incidents here in our community, and so that's been on my mind a lot. So, you know, we just want to send our thoughts and our prayers out to those individuals who, you know, may need, some extra leaning on or some extra strength at this moment. So just, be encouraged. The holiday season is not about a man in a red suit, whether he's black or white. It's not about, it's really not about turkey and dressing. It's not about some, Indians and pilgrims. It's not about any of that.
Right.
It's about family. It's about spreading love, spreading cheer, the more internal things that can't be taken back to the store or that can't be thrown in a trash can or placed on a shelf. So, make sure you're rooted in that this holiday season. And, hopefully before we, dang, Johnny, you cut my mic?
Mm-mm.
I'm still on?
Yeah, you still on.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
I don't know. I can't hear me.
That's okay.
Yeah, there I go. Yeah, I'm back now. So I'm good now. But maybe Johnny, I guess he was cutting my mic because he knew what I was about to say. Maybe we can get some of that Christmas music before we get out of here today.
Come on, man.
I mean, it might as well. We might as well get some before we get out of here. Oh, Holy Night or something. This Christmas or Silent Night or something. He walking like he don't hear me.
Come on, man. At least do it. Wait till next week.
No. We can get something.
Let's
we
have,
can get
at least
something.
have Thanksgiving.
We can get something in here before.
Come on, man.
I mean, just a prelude before we cut the turkey and dressing. I mean, look, come on now. Walmart been had candy canes on the shelf since October.
Nah, I ain't into the Walmart.
They've been having Christmas lights on the shelf since.
Let me get my dressing.
All I'm asking for is, can we at least get Oh Holy Night? Didn't y'all's family redo a version of one of them Christmas songs, Johnny? I think it was Oh Holy Night or Oh Come O Ye Faithful. So that ain't too secular Christmassy. That's inspirational.
Right.
It's uplifting. Can we get a sample of something today?
Right.
That's all I'm asking. And so, but Calvin, if people want to call in and participate, how can they do that?
Yeah, if you want to call in and not ask for Christmas music, please feel free to do that. It is 318-779-0459, 318-779-0459. Or if you watch it on Beyonce's internet, please send us a message in the chat, and we would be glad to take your request.
Yeah, and if you want to request this Christmas or something, call in and let them know, because let them know it's that time of year
next week.
And so my hope is that is that you will spend
quality
time with your family, because this will be our last show before Thanksgiving,
right? And
then we'll modify the show during the Christmas season as well. But we always want to be here to give you some information. What you got for your headline?
Well, one of the things that I saw in the headline, and I want the rest of the stuff I want to take some time with, is I'm concerned that some of the Trump appointments in I want to say it's the 8th district, which is just north of us, Arkansas, going up until the Midwest. 2 of the 3 judges decided that in order to make a challenge to the Voting Rights Act, those challenges can only be done by the United States Attorney. Never in the history.
Wait, say it again?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Say that slow. I'm sorry.
Yes. So the circuit that I want to say it's the 8th circuit. It starts in Arkansas. So let's back up. The NAACP and a group of concerned citizens filed a challenge to the reapportionment in Arkansas under Section 2, much like the litigation that we're dealing with in Louisiana and Alabama. Their circuit judges decided that the only people who could challenge the legitimacy of a district would be the United States Attorney and or the Department of Justice, which is not how the Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act has been interpreted. It is something that is brand new. It is a brand new legal precedent, and clearly it is an opportunity or an attempt to bastardize what's going on with that.
But can't the Justice Department join the suit?
Sure, the Justice Department can't join, but here's a problem. So let's say you living in a time where you have a Justice Department that's run by Republicans. They're saying the only time someone can fight reapportionment would be if the Justice Department joins the suit. So if you have a conservative Republican like we had about 6 years ago under Donald Trump, those challenges wouldn't happen. They're saying you can't challenge that, which, I mean, is a horrible reading of the concept of standing, because if you walk that logic all the way out, there are associations that have challenged federal statutes all across the country. The Society for this, the Society for that, the group for this, the group for that have been able to challenge federal law because they have members that are part of that included class. So they got some people that are part of that class. They're saying no. And it's just another attempt for the people on the right to prevent organizations like the NAACP, the NAACP Legal Defense Fund, the Lawyers Committee on Civil Rights from having the resources to fight our battles. And that's a problem. And I'm prayerful that when it goes to the Supreme Court, and it will go to the Supreme Court quickly, then they'll stop that. What they were trying to do is do an end run, because that circuit saw what was happening in the South, which is they're telling them if you had a population, you got to draw the districts properly. They're saying, hey, we're not even going to get to that because the people that filed a lawsuit shouldn't have filed a lawsuit, so we're not going to get to the merits. It's not a good day if you live in places like Arkansas and Missouri. So that's what I'm concerned about.
Yeah, very unfortunate. Well, we'll be right back. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll get back and we'll jump into some of our post-election
wrap up
and thoughts and share some commentary. And so this is 97.7 Issues That Matter. We play what we want to play and say what we need to say. We'll be right back after this break.
Said it's all right.
Issues That Matter with Calvin Lester and Stephen Jackson
My
on
headphones keep going
WKSH
out. Some
97.7
keep
The
going out.
Heat.
There we go. And we are back. Thank you for listening to us. If you want to participate, you can call in 318-779-0459, 318-779-0459. So we are here. We are a couple of days removed from Election Day. Let me start out by saying thank you to everybody who went to vote.
Yes.
Thank you for everybody who participated in the democratic process. But there were some interesting things that took place, and so Calvin, we can run down those. What do you just if you want to give a quick rundown?
Yeah, let's
on
start
those?
from the top. Let's start from the top. I mean, the thing that's gotten the most attention is sheriff's race. It was a close race, to say the least, and Henry Whitehorn won by one vote. I think from now on we can never say your vote doesn't count, because clearly it does. And I think the message, the lesson for me, without giving all of the secret sauce away, because the game is to be sold, not told, is on these parish-wide scenarios, we in our community need to put down our egos and work toward a common goal. And when we can do that, we can be successful. If we are concerned about who gets the credit, then we're not going to be successful. But when people put that stuff aside and push people across the line, I think our community wins. And Saturday we pushed Henry across the line. People who ordinarily don't square horses, people that ordinarily don't get along, were able to push Henry across the line, and that's huge, because the sheriff is a very important person. I said in my Sunday school class the next morning, for many of us of a certain age, beyond my years, the sheriff was the instrument or the office that was the right hand of the White Citizens Council. The sheriff was the office that made sure that that the status quo and desegregation was maintained. Sometimes through a fist, sometimes through arrest, sometimes through batons. But for Caddo Parish, Bloody Caddo, the last capital of Confederacy, to have an African American sheriff is a really big deal, and people should be excited that has happened. So I'm very excited about that. Other thing that I saw, of course, we have a new assessor. Dr. Regina Webb is the new tax assessor. The thing that's important about that is Dr. Regina Webb is the first African American female elected parish-wide in the history of Caddo Parish. There's never been a black woman who has represented all of Caddo Parish in anything. You have had African American women judges. The first was
Erica Bryan gonna be the first.
But she
I guess
wasn't
you say
elected.
elected. Thank you. Okay,
Elected.
good.
Yeah. Erica Bryan is a historical
You're right.
history
No, no,
maker,
no, you're
and,
right.
and you did,
You're right.
you guys on the commission did, but from the elected
Yeah.
standpoint, yes.
No, that makes sense.
So, also a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. Shout out to those ladies. But no, having that is a big deal. I mean, I want to say the first African American female elected in a parish type scenario would have been Judge Ramona Emanuel, who is now chief judge of the First Judicial District Court. And then of course you had Judge Pam Latier, then you had Judge Shonda Stone, and then you had Judge Shiva Sims, and then lately you had Judge Shiva Sims. Not Shiva Sims. Correlia Stewart, and then after Judge Correlia Stewart, you had Judge Ree Casey Jones, but none of those ladies were parish wide. Dr. Regina Webb is parish wide, so that's a huge deal. Of course, then we get down to our legislative delegation. Of course, Greg Tarver has been one of the seminal political figures of this area. He is the dean of the legislature from this area, having served, I mean, off and on for a total of almost 30 some years as state senator. And he's going to be replaced by Sam Jenkins. And that was a huge race because, of course, that's state senate district is talking about 100,000 folks. And, of course, our own current commissioner and House Representative-elect District 2 is our very own Stephen Jackson. Very proud of the race he ran. And
I was elected in October.
You were elected in October,
Yep.
but I'm running them all down.
I got you.
I'm running them all down. And then Saturday you had a decisive decision in House District 4, and the new representative there will be Gerald Joel Walters. So you've got that going on. Of course, you've got a new state senator in District 37 or 38 with State Senator Thomas Presley. So
Thomas won outright in October.
Right. So the Northwest Louisiana legislative delegation is going to undergo some changes. I think you've got Thomas Presley going over from the House to the Senate. You have Sam Jenkins going over from the House to the Senate. You have Representative Tammy Phelps that's going to remain. She was not challenged. And then you've got two new representatives from 2 and 4. And then I think there's a new person in 5. When Thomas Presley went over, I forgot that person's name. Your new colleague to be. So
Michael Miller.
Okay. So you got some new representatives at the state level, and I'm very excited for what they can do. I can talk about some of the state stuff, but I want to take a pause and just ask you, Mr. Representative-elect, as you have, as you are looking at the end of your time as a parish commissioner, police juror, looking at going toward the state level, what are some of the things that you've seen, at least at this early stage, of the differences between being a parish commissioner, police juror, and being a state representative? What has that transition been like for you thus far?
Oh man, that's a good question. It is it's weird. I'll just say that because everything is centralized in Baton Rouge, and so the information has to come up. Whereas here, being elected, everything is right here, around the corner, up the street.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say I'll never take that for granted again, right? Because I'm used to, if I need to see my parish administrator, if I need to see my public works folks, I could just put hands on them right then and there.
Mm-hmm.
In this role, everything is centralized in Baton Rouge. Now you have regional offices and things of that nature. And so you have regional folks that you can reach out to and things of that nature. And then it's different from going from 12 to 105.
Right.
At 12, it's more intimate, whereas you should know on the city council, 7 is a more intimate body. 105, man, whew. But
right.
What I will say is, I guess it dawned on me. Somebody asked me, I can't remember who I was talking to. Somebody asked me, who is the delegation members? This morning, they asked me, who makes up the African-American state delegation? And I start calling names. I said, well, since the election is over, you have Senator Sam Jenkins, you have Representative Phelps, you have myself and Darrell Joy. And then I was getting ready to start naming some more people. In my head, I had Roy Burrell in my head. I had Glover in my head. I had, I had these faces flashing through my head, but I was thinking I said, well, then that's it.
Right.
It's just us.
Right.
This is it.
Right.
And so that really, this morning, I literally was at the Hilton having breakfast with someone this morning, and they asked me that. And I was like, well, dang, it is just us.
Right.
So, my hope is that, we will all work together, talk together, make sure that we all have a, level of camaraderie
right.
that some believe didn't exist before. I think it's an opportunity to be fresh, start a fresh slate.
Right.
Because let's just be honest, we call a thing a thing. There's this thought that you have the Glover camp,
Right.
and you have the Tarver camp,
Right.
and the two couldn't get along.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now you don't have that anymore. Both are out of
Right.
politics.
Right.
Neither one is in politics
Right.
anymore.
Right.
And so, you know,
You got to draw some new alliances.
you got to, well, or I think you just got to say, hey, everybody, we've got to work together.
Right.
And the new alliance has to be one alliance.
Right.
And that's what I would like to see is African Americans working together. You know, some people, and I want to go there. You didn't ask me, but I want to
Go
there.
ahead.
Some people are trying this political strong arm, political bullying, and they don't realize you don't have a clue what you're doing. You don't know. You were made.
Right.
You
Right.
ain't no self-made person. You
Right.
were made.
None of us are.
None of us are.
Right.
You were made. And to be honest, when we look at it from a political maturity perspective, sometimes I have to sit back and realize I got senior status on certain folks.
You do. You do.
And they don't and I think they still try to look at me from a age perspective, even
Right.
though I hadn't hit 40 yet.
Right.
Still got a couple more years for that, not
Right.
rushing it.
Right.
But I'm sitting there like, yeah, I do have senior status.
Right.
On some of these folks who are
Right.
you know, middle 40s,
Right.
upper 50s, middle 50s.
Listen, I've told you before, and I'm not going to recount that because, you know, the language in the FCC, but, you know, my second term on the council, I had to have a very strong word at heart-to-heart with, you know, City Councilman Joe Shine. And I had to remind him, you know, he had years on the council, but I had years on the council too. And the last 4 years where he was not on the council, I was there standing up for black folks, and I respect him. And my expectation that he was going to respect me. So you're right. Being young numerically, but having the opportunity to serve earlier in your life, sometimes those people who come to service later that don't have as many years under their belt or have as many accomplishments as you puts it in a strange position where they feel like they can talk down to you because they're older. And that's not the business. And you know, I'm prayerful for you and our delegation that at some point, guys, you know, y'all realize that, you know, whatever differences you may have individually, that the folks for Northwest Louisiana have an expectation that you're going to go down there and take care of their business to bring some resources back up here. Because, you know, as I appreciate it, you know, if you're not united from your local delegation, it's going to be almost impossible for anything to get done.
Mm-hmm.
You know, speaking of delegations, can you also kind of speak to some of us have heard there are different caucuses. Can you kind of explain to some of our listeners what some of the different caucuses are and how important and what role they felt that, you know, they play in the legislative process down there?
Yeah. You have several different caucuses. So you have the House Democratic Caucus, you have the House Republican Caucus, and with the Republican Party having supermajority, they're basically the majority party, and House Democrats would be considered in a minority. And you have those caucuses. They serve obviously the Governor-elect Landry. He will have floor leaders who will be responsible for helping to carry and be spokespersons in the House and the Senate for his priorities. And so those folks will more than likely have committee chairmanships or chairwomanships. Those individuals will put their names on particular pieces of legislation, whether it's criminal justice, insurance, school choice, or whatever it is. They'll put their name on the legislation and they'll be there. And so those caucuses, they work together, they talk amongst each other. That's one of the things that I do see that is very noticeable is they talk, as opposed to here locally on the parish commission. We've tried it at times.
Right.
We tried to caucus with one another, but and I'm sure they have it in all caucuses. You know, folks kind of start acting beside, you know, as individuals as opposed to in the caucus, and I get it. But what I noticed is the House Democratic Caucus has a staff member that works solely for the House Democrats, and that person is hired, has an email address, a state issued email address. They have an office in the Capitol. Their job is to sort of, I won't say be the peacemaker, but sometimes to just kind of, I won't even say a deal broker. That their job is kind of to be the person in the room to make sure that tempers stay down and conversations continue to go forward.
Gotcha.
And move the conversation along.
Gotcha.
You can still think what you want to think, but you know, you have somebody who is paid and hired to be that Democratic coordinator almost. So the House Republicans,
so to stay on track.
To stay on track. The House Republicans have somebody and they have staff. The Black Caucus, so you have the Black Caucus. And so now in the legislature you have what's called the Conservative Caucus. So the Republicans have, under the Republican Caucus, you have the Conservative Caucus, and then you have, I think, the Freedom Caucus or something like that. And so that's the group that, you know, they don't believe that, some folks believe that, you know, then you have the Fiscal Hawks. So that you got that group under the Republicans. So you got a lot of different groups that run around. I think there's another caucus called the Ideas Caucus or something like that. Somebody suggested that I join it. So, you know, it's just like-minded people getting together. But the thing is, having a caucus helps you work together. There is a New Orleans, so there's caucuses and then there are delegations. And so a caucus is not the same as a delegation. So every region has a delegation. So Northwest Louisiana or North Louisiana finally has a delegation. And once you get recognized officially as a delegation, they dedicate space in the Capitol for your staff or your person who's your coordinator and things of that nature. You meet. So I think during the session we meet like every Monday or Tuesday or something. So the House Caucus, Democratic Caucus meets on one day. The Black Caucus meets on another day.
Right.
This caucus meets on another day. Then you have your delegation meetings. And so then you have to go to your, and for me, I will be in the Bossier delegation. So there may be a meeting like I had to go to last Tuesday. Thankfully, Sam is now elected because I was the only brother in the room that day. But you have your House, you have your Bossier delegation, then you'll have your Shreveport delegation. Then you have all of your North Louisiana. So that's everybody from Shreveport, Monroe, and in between. North Louisiana delegation. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be interesting. I'm looking forward to it. You know, I'm having to tell people I'm moving out of a role of, hey, my street lights are off, or hey, this dog is running loose. Can you call Animal Services? If you call my office whenever we get that stuff set up, we're gonna continue to respond and facilitate putting you in touch with that person. But I'm moving more into a policy role,
right?
Where it's more legislative, talking about legislation and crafting state level policy, as opposed to a local role, which is more of a hands-on
constituency service,
everyday constituency. That's going to be a much different role, and it's probably going to take some adjustments from me because I may have a desire to want to get heavy-handed and involved, but I'm going to have to turn that stuff over to Mr. Victor Thomas, who we should probably invite on the show one day. To have him come in. So that's a long version to a very fairly simple question.
No, but let me say this. I think our viewers and our listeners need to know, and part of the beauty of this show is
y'all not trying to fire me, are y'all?
No.
Oh, okay. Because it sounds like y'all about to tell me I ain't gonna be on the show no more. So.
Part of the beauty of the show is that we get to give our listeners a behind the curtain look at things that they would not ordinarily get to see. You know, very, very rarely do we, as individuals, know people who are in these positions, and even more rare do those folks that are in a position sit down and talk to folks about the nuts and bolts of what they do. They like to maintain the mystery of it, which is cool. But, you know, when you maintain the mystery, then there's difficulty with accountability. So we want to, you know, create a scenario where we can let folks know what's going on so they have an appreciation, you know, and I'm going to say this as we get ready to wrap it up. You know, one of the things for me that I took away from Saturday and this election cycle in general is we need to get back to voter education before you get to voter mobilization. I believe if you tell people what you're doing, show them how it impacts their life in their particular situation, and do things to impact their situation, then that voter is a more informed voter, and then they will do those things that you need them to do. But if you don't notify the voters, if you don't let them know what's going on, if you don't keep them as part of this process, then you'll wind up having a scenario where it all comes down to, well, you know, vote because somebody died for this. And that's a reason to vote, true enough, but that means less and less because we're getting further and further away from that generation, which is my mom and dad's generation, that actually did the marching and actually took the licks and actually did the dying. So I think the more we educate folks as to what policy is and how this person does this and it affects your life in this way, I think we can get closer to a more educated voter. And I think educated voters make better choices and they vote more often than not. So that's my thought on that. But we're about to wrap it up. We thank you for your kind attention this evening.
Did we get any Christmas music going?
Well, he looked like he's looking for something for you. So,
you know, we might. I say that one. There's one that I think your sister or your cousin did, and it's always hidden, man.
Okay, I think he about to give you Boys to Men. So
yeah,
you
but
should be happy. There you go.
Hey,
yeah.
hey, you can't. Hey, I just want everybody to get in. And again, when I say Christmas spirit, I'm not talking about reindeer and Santa Claus. I'm just talking about in a maybe joyous, good mindset, feel good, do something good. You know, go volunteer somewhere. There are a lot of volunteer opportunities out there coming up this season, and so you know, it doesn't always have to be about what you get, but it can be about what you give. And so let's give thanks and let's show love during this holiday season. So
well, this has been Issues That Matter, and it's getting a little cold. I don't know if it's gonna be snowing, but Brother Jackson wants y'all to get in the Christmas mood. We're gonna do our part. So
the holiday mood.
The holiday mood. Yeah, because those of us that had to wait all year to get Thanksgiving and get their birthday gifts is mad when you try to go past Thanksgiving and go to Christmas. But we'll talk about that Thursday.
Yeah. Happy early birthday if that's what you're saying.
Yeah, that's my birthday is Friday. That's my birthday is Friday.
Happy early birthday.
I appreciate that.
That's what you.
53 in the Lord say the same. So this has been Issues That Matter, 97.7 The Heat, WKSH. We play what we want to play and say what we want to say. God bless.
Happy Thanksgiving, and we'll see you next week.
Let it snow, let it snow, let it snow.
Issues That Matter with Calvin Lester and Stephen Jackson on WKSH 97.7 The Heat. We're heating up Shreveport because we're 97.7 FM WKSH The Heat.
When you